Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and joining me here after a Steelers victory, my good friend, buddy, colleague, and pal, Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, we said it was going to be ugly, and it was. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'll tell you. It's a victory Monday. How can I be bad? I don't care if it's a ugly win. A win is a win. But I got to tell you, even the wonderful and aromatic and flavorful taste of a bad victory was dulled yesterday. Dulled, I'm telling you, dulled by the presence of one Thomas Brady doing play-by-play in the Cowboys-Browns game. And let me just tell you why. Look, I'm going to, full transparency, I went into the Browns-Cowboys game thinking, I don't need to hate Tom Brady anymore. He's out of football in the sense of, he's not going to come and crush my dreams. He's not going to be annoying. He doesn't play anymore. So I was like, I'm perfect. I did the same thing with Troy Aikman. I'm like, okay, I'm willing to let's see how, and Tony Romo, right? So I'm like, all right, let's see. And before he even got on, I'm already annoyed with him because they put that stupid promo commercial up where it's Tom Brady and 18 variant images from the metaverse of Tom Brady telling Tom Brady why he's not done with football yet. Screw you, Tom Brady. You are done with football. And then, so I'm already annoyed with him before it even starts, even though I was trying not to be annoyed with him. But I'm like, all right, I'm going to give him some time. Let's see how it goes. Yes, I am going to rant about this because it was terrible. First of all, if you've ever seen Grown Ups, the movie, Adam Sandler's movie Grown Ups, and you've seen the scene around the pool where all the girls are ogling this super hot, muscle-bound guy, and then he comes over and he's like, hey, I think it's a man. And he's got the stupidest voice in the world. That's Tom Brady. That is Tom Brady, the stupidest damn voice in the world. I literally, 10 minutes in, I'm like, I have to mute this because I want to enjoy the Cowboys beating the crap out of the Browns, and I can't enjoy it if I have to listen to Tom Brady.
All right, Brian, a very serious question then for you, since you were very annoyed by Tom Brady, who is now on the A team for Fox Sports for their broadcasting for Fox NFL. And so the Steelers didn't have him, but were you more annoyed?
Thank God.
Yeah, they had Greg Olsen, who's bad enough. Were you more annoyed? I'm going to make sure I'm going to have your face. You'll hold on. I want to see your face. More annoyed by Tom Brady's commentary with Browns Cowboys, or the officiating in the Steelers Falcons?
Forget it. Oh my God. You know what? I made it like 3 or 4 games last year.
We didn't even make it 5 minutes into our first post-game show.
Are you kidding me? The refs are so bad. How do they keep getting worse?
Dude, and I mean, there's plenty to bitch about from the Steelers end of things, right? And we could homer it up, and I think most of them are valid points in this game, right? And the one we will get to with TJ Watt, he's literally apologized to, or said he was apologized to. The official missed it, and there's the human element of this, but there's just some non-human element stuff where these guys are just like, they made so many critical errors. I didn't know this came up on TV. I got to watch almost the full first half, replaying it. I'm still dragging ass a little bit here from driving back from Atlanta, being at the game. But so I got to watch about half of it. And I'm glad the crowd noise came through on TV. I really felt like Steelers Nation really showed up. I mean, it was wild. If there was ever an invasion, I was telling you this, I texted you this from the venue, and I said, when we were in Miami, I thought the crowd in Miami was amazing. And I know that I heard Atlanta people showed up before. This was like unbelievable. It was almost a home game. There was a silent count for Kirk Cousins.
Why did it take? This is the question I have. Why did it take the announcer? This is a common theme for Steelers travel games, right? San Diego, they take over. Miami, Atlanta. Wherever else they take
Indianapolis is another.
Indianapolis. It took them 3 quarters to go, I think there's just as many Steelers fans here as there are Falcons fans. You're morons. You're both stinky. But nonetheless, I would much rather listen to the team that we had on our game than ever to listen to Tom Brady again.
Well, the officials, I wasn't sure if this happened on TV, and it did. And they were showing the crowd, the Atlanta crowd, everybody thought it was 4th down. And they ran Jaylen Warren right into the pile, basically, for what we thought was a 4th and short. Scoreboard operators there were terrible. They flubbed several times. So it was a total, kind of fail from all operations. Officiating on the one. And I don't know, I don't give the scoreboard, by the way, phenomenal facilities. That scoreboard, they got the big ring that's built in the dome and everything like that. It's not even distracting. You could see it literally from everywhere. Huge fan. It's awesome. In fact, I don't have a single complaint about Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta. Just terrific venue, right? But the scoreboard operators, I wouldn't give them enough credit to do this and be smart enough because they just screwed up the whole day. But I was going to say, there was one where the officiating crew, I forget who, I got to look back and see who the head official was on this crew. And I've got the information somewhere. I'll pull it up in a minute. But he calls out, holding, whatever, 79 or whatever. It was the right guard, I think, that he called it on for the Falcons. And the Falcons, they show the replay. And the guy just, he did like a little push, and it was the only thing. He barely got his hands on like TJ Watt or whoever it was. And everybody's booing, and I'm like, well, they obviously got the wrong number, or they just didn't see it. And then it felt like there was like a makeup call after that. I don't want to make the whole show about officiating, and I don't want to make it sound like blah, 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 but it was poor. The reason we have named this particular episode, Brad Rogers, that's who the referee was. The reason.
Well, he's now on my poop list.
I mean, that's a long list. It's as long as Brown's starting quarterback since 1999. It's that jersey with all the nameplates on it. So,
and to be fair, it's not just them, because they did that same stupid 4th down problem in the Browns game.
Yes, they did.
It's literally, the refs are just terrible everywhere. So I don't want to just say, oh, they made bad calls against us. They make bad calls against everybody. They're terrible. They're just terrible, and it annoys me. That's all. It was
like preseason type football follies. I saw that too. I caught quite a bit of the Browns Cowboys in my travels. I had vested interest in that game because I wanted to see if the Steelers come out like we predicted, the only team to win in the AFC North to start the season. I was like,
well, I don't know. Did we really predict the Bengals to lose?
No, nobody did.
I don't think we did.
But you know what?
That's just embarrassing.
We're not wrong. So, but
yes.
Yeah, the 4th down thing. You heard some of the crowd and everything, and it was like you were sitting there like, did the Steelers just really do that? So I'm like, I got to go backwards because I could tell you I thought it was 4th down, and then rewatching on TV, like everybody's like, all of a sudden they put up 2nd down. I got Falcons fans sitting around me. There was quite a bit of Steelers fans behind me, but we're scattered about, and everybody, both sides were just like, what the hell is going on? Like nobody, you're trying to follow, and they would put the wrong down on there. I'm surprised there wasn't like some corrections with the actual clock. So it was weird, dude. It was weird in that aspect. But again, beautiful venue, very loud. It was like a Steelers home game, but on the road. We had so getting back to what I was starting to say, and the reason I brought up officiating first was the title of this show, and we're getting to it. And some folks probably tuning in are like, what are these guys talking about? Despite the box score, Steelers dominant and win over Falcons. Well, the Steelers had a number of big plays taken away, right or wrong, by penalties. And there's no other way of saying that. They also had some other opportunities. So that first drive with the Falcons, it didn't look so hot. They actually converted, they might have converted. So here's the team stat for you, Brian. The Falcons were 2-9 on 3rd down against the Steelers defense. That's dominant right there. So we pull out that. Despite it being only 18-10, the Steelers don't get in the end zone. They don't score a touchdown offense. It's all Chris Boswell and kicking field goals. But the Falcons had 15 first downs. So it's kind of like, weird in the way it's lopsided, but most of those first downs were all in that very first drive. It didn't look clean. It looked like preseason football. Dante Jackson almost got an interception that was dropped. And then all of a sudden, like, we got to talk about the rest of the defense here, because TJ Watt more than once had a sack that was negated for one reason or another. The major one was the one that led to 7 of those 10 Falcons points, with Cousins finding, was it Ray McLeod with Beanie Bishop in coverage? I believe that's
no, it was Michael Pitts.
Was it Michael? Oh yeah. You're right. I was thinking about McLeod for some reason.
Well, because he was all of a sudden catching a lot of balls. At one point before he was catching none.
Yes, you're right. Kyle Pitts, 12 yards. So that play should have never happened. And that's what the aforementioned was. Referee blinked or sneezed or whatever and thought he saw something he didn't. This was picked apart in several areas of the media. Good Morning Football discussed it, and one of the McCourty twins that's on there or whatever, they're talking about it. Kyle Brandt's talking about it. And it's just like, you couldn't have perfectly timed it. You see everybody else sharing it over on social media. So that was a strip sack. Like, TJ Watt ends up to the box score with 1 sack when in fact he had 3. And even though those don't get marked down towards him getting Strahan's record or beating it eventually, those definitely influenced. Kirk Cousins had some ghosts. He was seeing some stuff, and it influenced his timing, etc. It also influenced some of the play calling, I think, from the Falcons' end. So let's go through this. I said some individual performances. We'll talk. Maybe we'll give some grades for it. I mean, TJ is going to be an A+.
Yeah.
Closes out the game too. How can he not? Yeah.
Plus he took a bow. How you got to get an A when you take a bow?
It was great. He comes over. That's the end zone I was sitting in. I was sitting in the corner end zone, and there was probably more Steelers fans in that spot, in that particular end, that the Falcons were playing with their heels up against their own goal line. That was a bad spot for Kirk Cousins there. They had to go to a silent count at home. And Charlie Batch was saying, I guarantee they didn't practice that. You're going to practice for noise at home, especially in your home opener. That's a little rough. But anyways, definitely for TJ Watt. Let's rewind to something we didn't get to talk about in our pregame show, because we didn't know that Russell Wilson tweaked his calf on Thursday. We were already packaged and uploaded the show, and this news drops, and now it's like all of a sudden we just had a whole spiel about it's rust the whole way, and then Justin Fields ends up starting. I'm trying to figure out what I would assign a grade letter to Justin Fields, because there's 2 ways to approach this. For the job that he had to do, I would say an A. But if you wanted to see him do that same thing throughout the season and you felt it was impressive or something to that nature, I can't give him an A. I might not even be able to give him, like, maybe it's a B- or a C+.
It's a C. It's a C.
Yeah.
Look, he did enough to not lose the game, right? He managed the game. You got 6 field goals, right? They could not get in the end zone. You can't get even a B performance if you can't score a touchdown. Out of 6 drives, they were set up with very good field position multiple times and walked away with a field goal. And the only reason is because Boz's leg apparently is on performance enhancing drugs. Because 57, 51, 54, multiple 50-yard field goals. I'm not upset with Justin Fields. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to poo-poo Justin Fields. He did enough, right? But I can't give him more than a C because the offense simply didn't produce.
I'm totally with you on that. I want to give Boz an A+, by the way, for you saying that.
Is there an A letter higher than A+? Back in the day when I was in honors classes, we would get an H, right? If you got the honors grade, that was the 5-point grade, an H. So I'm giving Boz an H.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I was gonna say like an S. I always see that like on like some of these Nintendo games, like a Mario Party or something, and it's like it seems like it's higher than an A. You score better and it's an S. Maybe it's a star. I don't know. Maybe it's lost in translation. We got into video games the last time too. Thanks for the comments that were there about Tecmo Bowl and all that stuff. So that I was like, aha. But anyways, Boswell, along with the Texans, Kymie Fairbairn, they each made 3 field goals of 50 or more yards. They're the first 2 kickers all time to make 3 50-yard field goals in a season opening game. All time. No one's ever done it, and 2 guys do it in the same day. The first time in NFL history that multiple kickers converted 3 50-yard field goals in the same week. And then Boswell, with 5 of his 6 made field goals coming from at least 40 yards, became the first kicker in NFL history to record multiple career games with 5 field goals of 40 or more. And he's done it twice. Move over, Justin Tucker, you bum. They can't just make chip shots. Chris Boswell, King of the North. And it's sad, Brian, because it's going to segue into something else as we jump around the game, since I'm on special teams. I think everybody was playing chicken in this game because I don't think there was a single kickoff with this dynamic kickoff. The NFL's out there.
There was one.
Was there one that actually got returned?
There was one.
Everything got.
Maybe 2.
Yeah, I'm
Falcons
watching it.
May have returned 2.
Yeah, it just didn't see, nobody was doing it. They were kicking them out of the end zone, touchbacks. Everybody was like, let's just start at the 30, which is absurd and gives the advantage to offense, like we said when it went to the 25 from the 20.
Why wouldn't you do that with the Steelers defense? I'd kick it out of the end zone every single time.
Well, your hope is in the landing zone that you can maybe force somebody to be shorter than the 25 if you kick it far enough back. But that was something like Cameron Johnston. This is going to be said because he was going to be probably GOAT territory and now presumably, according to several reports, lost for the season. Out kicking the coverage. And you got to give Boswell his due. There's multiple things here with the special teams. So Boswell comes out there and has to punt with 3.5 minutes left. You don't even know if this guy could handle the snap, let alone punt it. And he kicks a 40-some yard, 50 in the air, because you got the 10 or so, 8 to 10 yards that snapped back to him.
And this is why I say his leg is on performance-enhancing drugs, because it didn't even look punters, they do that big way up in the air thing, and they do a little hop. Boz just came out and went like this. He went, doot, 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 boop. That's it. That's all he did.
Like a Lego minifigure. That's all the further.
He was boop, didn't go off the ground. Didn't look. He's just whatever, plump, and the ball goes a million miles in the air. I don't know.
Unbelievable. That was one thing I was worried about because if you remember opening week 2 years ago at Cincinnati, you go to overtime because there was no backup long snapper after the starter got hurt for the Bengals, and McPherson couldn't make any kicks to save his life. There was all kind of mechanical issues with the snap, getting it down. So we're at the end of this, nearing the end of this game. You're chewing a lot of clock, and you're just if the Steelers just elect to, are they just going to keep going for it? Because if they elect to kick a field goal here, who's going to hold? That's in the back of my brain now. And all of a sudden they bring it. Scotty Miller starts coming out. And I immediately identify him as someone who should not be in the huddle. Number 13 is out there. And I'm like, is this going to be some sneak play, some trick? No, Scotty Miller holds, gets it down, laces out, boom. I know it's a short kick, and it may not have been pretty. May not have been able to do this from 50. He might not have wanted to attempt this from 50-some yards like the other ones. But, man, Scotty Miller, and Scotty Miller was in on one of the other plays, too, on special teams, too, on the coverage or whatever. It's just on the Boswell punt. It's just you showed up the plate. I remember I was talking about Scotty Miller. I was like, look out for Scotty Miller. Look out for Scotty Miller. This is one of these guys where you have these contributions. In week 18, we're going to forget. We're going to forget about this a month from now. But it cannot be understated. The Steelers get a victory because of this special teams play here with Boswell and Scotty Miller. And this is the thing where you get into December and January now and tiebreakers and whatever else. And you've got that extra win. It might win you the division because of how they handled this. Craig Wolfley said the game had warts, I believe.
That's fair.
I believe that's his term he usually uses, is it's warts. And we talked about it possibly being this kind of affair. Steelers mainly winning with their defense. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Brian. Going into this, the biggest difference was the offense at least sustained drives. So I will say at least this much, like Justin Fields, if there's some panic or he's not reading the field or whatever, and trust me, there were some plays that were left out there. I'm not trying to crap all over him. Much better performance than a Mitchell Trubisky out there for the decisions he finally made, even when he stared him down and he might have been a second late in processing. He gets it going. Definitely jitters the start. Those balls were sailing all over, the snap exchanges, maybe even Frazier having some of the jitters. And then they got it all ironed out. Arthur Smith, A+, because he puts Justin Fields in a position that utilizes Justin Fields' strengths. They go an empty set on a third down, spread everyone out. It's like a quarterback keeper, like a draw play, and he gets 5 or 6 yards out of it, goes right up the gut behind Zach Frazier, who I'm also going to give an A+ for this. Arthur Smith, second half adjustments. What are those? The previous 3 seasons, the Steelers offense didn't adjust to anything. It's like you're constantly waiting for Matt Canada to come up with some kind of answer. And Arthur Smith pulls some things from wherever out of the ether. They ran the football. They had an identity, a lot of multiple tight end sets. I think Pruitt played almost 50% of the game, and he's the third tight end. I think Darnell Washington actually played fewer snaps. And Freiermuth was out there more than I think some of the wide receivers, too, when I look at the game book. Kudos, my hat's off to Arthur Smith, because they had to get this together fast. This game plan, what they were working on was to prepare with Russell Wilson. And luckily enough, another hats off too, I would say, to Mike Tomlin. I do have some demerits for Mike Tomlin. I might give him a B, even though Good Morning Football gave him Coach of the Week. I'll get to those in a second. But hats off, because this was prepared for Russell Wilson, and they flipped this script and got it all ready for Fields. I'd say for Tomlin, at least, he got Fields enough reps where it wasn't that awkward, because he had gone through training camp practically as the starting quarterback.
I think you're riding a little bit of the orgasmic afterglow of the victory. I'm remembering the reverse. I'm remembering some of the toss plays that seemed egregious and not greatly timed. But I will say this. So I mean, I would probably give Arthur Smith a B+. I'm not ready to give him an A or an A+. So I'm a full grade lower than you, because I'm remembering some of the plays that I felt were ugly.
First half.
But yeah. But if you want to compare Arthur Smith's first game to the entirety of Matt Canada's career, you have to find a different level of grading, because it's that much better, right? There was I can't say the word, just like I can't pronounce people's names. Dynamicism is probably still wrong. It was dynamic, right? It was not overly predictable. Were there times? Sure. But for the most part, you weren't 100% certain what you were getting, right? There were plays that you were like, okay, didn't see that coming, and I don't think Atlanta did either. Was it enough? I don't know, but maybe you blame that on the players and execution. They also had Spencer Anderson on the offensive line instead of Isaac. So, it wasn't the full complement. But it was a marked improvement over any Matt Canada called game in the history of Matt Canada's life.
That is very fair. Some of the initial, as we always say, the script, the first half script, when you get done with that script, let's see how teams adjust. And the Falcons had nothing for it. Maybe it was Kirk Cousins not playing in the preseason. It was definitely, you got to give credit to Steelers defense. So, but I do want to stick on the offense. I thought Najee Harris, pretty good game out of Najee. You didn't see
not a bad game. Not a bad game.
You didn't see a lot from Warren. I think they had to ease him in with the hamstring. So it was Najee, 20 carries, 70 yards. There were 2 plays left on the field with Najee. There was one that was very obvious, the run behind him in the first quarter. that should have been a decent gainer, but there was another one that was very similar to this where he just straight up Fields missed him wide open. And not the only player he missed wide open in this game. And it's going to sound like I'm really down on this, but I wonder, you're not going to get the quarterback runs the same way with Russell Wilson, right? But I do think if Russell Wilson plays this game, the Steelers not only score a touchdown, they maybe get 2. And I think it's more of a route. Because there was another one, there was not only the one with Najee. Fields never even looked that direction, but there was another one where he threw a pass incomplete to Michael Pruitt, third tight end on the roster. And he threw it past him and ends up incomplete. And on the other side of the field, never even looked. Najee in an intermediate route, but Van Jefferson coasted down the field and out. And the Atlanta secondary lost him. He was on an island. This was a throw you or I probably could have made. He was there's nobody within 10 yards of him, I guess, if I find the all 22. Not trying to be preposterous or exaggerating here. I just think that Russ, maybe as a more veteran player, probably sees that play, probably makes that play. Now, that's not to take away anything from Fields, but there were times in this game where Fields, there were some throws. There were some great throws. There were some to Freiermuth in particular, the couple that he got, 4 for 27. George Pickens, 7 targets, 6 catches for 85 yards. George Pickens is like a cheat code. And I think George Pickens gets tagged with another one of these calls you would have liked to have had back. It's really weird because when you watch it in real time, it looks like, I don't know if it really looks like he shoves off. They're hand fighting the whole way, and then all of a sudden he goes back to the other guy, plays forward, and it looks like nothing. It looks weak. It looks very ticky-tack, to say the least. And
it's a terrible call. It's just a flat-out terrible call.
Well, it takes away from Justin Fields. Because if that play stands, you're like, wow, Justin makes this real big. And he made another one to Pickens. This is where I got to give him his roses. And also with Arthur Smith, too, to close out that second quarter. This is where I give the demerit to Mike Tomlin, okay? He takes 2 timeouts in the halftime. Now, they freaking ran this to a T. Find George Pickens. Pickens nearly doesn't get out of bounds.
Yeah, Pickens almost screws it up.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. He didn't know he was out of bounds, by the way. And, there was real question of whether there was 1 second or left or not. But luckily for him, his toe, once again, a game helped along by a toe. His toe slid out of bounds at 3 seconds.
Yes. So it was a 41-yard hookup. And that's incredible. The Steelers actually got the ball with 32 seconds. Now, there was just a short pass to Kelvin Austin for 7 yards on first down. This was from the Steelers 30, so it got him up to the 37. And the next snap, even out of a no huddle, all the way down to 15 seconds. I'm like, Coach T, what are you doing, man? You don't get to take these with you. You have 2 timeouts, not just one that you're going to say maybe you play in the middle of the field and then you could get a field goal. They had a little bit more time that combined with this Pickens play that was outstanding. Great throw, great time, great execution, everyone involved. Other than, he did get out, thankfully. But that should have never come down to that. They probably could have had another 15 to 20 seconds on the clock had Tomlin pulled one of those timeouts out of his back pocket.
Well, here's what I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
He takes the timeout. That gives Atlanta time to prepare, right? If he doesn't take the timeout, you're keeping momentum. You're keeping pace. Well, so there's a balance there, right?
Yes and no, because the next play that they actually run is to Freiermuth, and it's only a 5-yard gainer. And he goes out of bounds. Atlanta ends up at the time now the clock stopped, and Atlanta ends up using a timeout here anyways. So it's kind of like almost a moot point because that goes down to 9 seconds at that point. So Atlanta would have used that timeout, and then the big play to Pickens happens anyway. So I think Atlanta ends up using a timeout where they try and hurry up. Like the Steelers came out and they got to put this play, they got to draw it up on the chalkboard, and then go out and execute it.
I will also say, I'm willing to get, I'm about a B level for Tomlin as well. in this game. My big issue is the sneak on 4th and 1 that was the worst called sneak ever. And, kick the field goal and you're 8 points up and you change some little bit of the dynamics. I get it. You want to try and put it in the end zone. You feel frustrated. You haven't had that sweet ecstasy of the end zone yet. And you want it bad, but you can't have it. But that was a mess. That was a ugly play.
I absolutely agree with you. It's still disappointing. Mark Madden, of course, exploited this first thing in the morning. He's like, well, the offense it just looks like the same stuff. No, dude.
It does not.
No. That was poorly executed. They had like 2 guys in every gap.
And I mean, some of that goes on Justin because you should be able to come up to the line and go, oh, wait a minute, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That box was I could tell sitting in front of my TV, I'm like, that sneak is never going to work unless you're going to run an end around or, some kind of other thing. You go up the middle or try and do a quarter, you're going nowhere. There's no place to go.
Yeah. And I mentioned this, Zach Frazier. I think it's going to come out, if it hasn't already, maybe I'll take a look, Pro Football Focus or something like that. He's going to be very highly graded. Some other people are already talking about the film. It's like, I don't need to see film. I saw it in person. I'm watching this dude all the time, and he's a beast. And, above the line play too, Spencer Anderson. Grady Jarrett was on him all day long. Like, he had to contend with that. And Dan Moore's next to him too. And so Dan Moore coming out of this and, relatively unscathed for the most part. The sacks that Fields took, you really want him to make some plays. Maybe there was a throw that's there. But at the same time, you know what? He didn't risk it. He didn't put the ball in jeopardy. He didn't put the team in harm's way. But at the same time, there were some things there that, when Mark Madden's talking about this, he's talking about the middle of the field was not utilized whatsoever. Very reminiscent of last year's offenses with Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky. So that could come as part of the very short week game planning, play it safe, play to win. I'm cool with the whole play to win thing. So I don't want to make this sound like a rain on the Justin parade. Great work as a backup quarterback, maybe above the line as the backup quarterback, and in a completely new environment, system on the road, etc. So that was pretty good. There was no other wide receiver play to really be talked about. We talked about Freiermuth probably ascending to that type of position. The running backs getting a little more involved. A few plays left on the field for Najee, maybe. Only 1 catch for like 9 yards. Jalen Warren, 2 for 13. The other receivers, Van Jefferson caught a ball for 1 yard, and Calvin Austin 1 for 7. I mean, Fields.
Let me speak about Calvin Austin for a second. Somebody needs to get a go button. I understand on the kickoff or the punt returns, there are times when he's trying to assess where to go. But my God, it seemed like he would catch and wait multiple seconds, and it was driving me nuts. I'm like, go somewhere, do something.
Yeah, I mean, he's quicker than a hiccup too, though. So, I'll give him a little benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. That being said, he had a couple halfway decent, returns, and we didn't have any Brian Switzer returns, which made me happy.
Yeah, we also had Najee's helmet pulled off. Najee was, fiery. Yeah, that's okay.
That's because you know what? Jesse Bates is a little punk ass. That's why.
we were talking about that. So every now and then, just like, okay, so if I'm in a live environment, like I might be talking to Brian or my cousin Brad or somebody that might be watching it on TV, and it's like, hey, did they show this on TV or what did you see there? And that was like, you were like, Jesse Bates is a punk. And I'm like, oh, that's who did it. I didn't catch who did it, but I saw it plain as day. Dude was already tackled on the ground and he rips his helmet off. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a jerk move. And I'm like, I'm not screaming for a penalty all the time, but man, when you look at the overall picture of things that were goofed, missed, maybe incorrect, you could deal with a call like that's very borderline. I mean, TJ Watt moving before the linemen even like pop up, but the ball is moved is inhuman. There is like, who else can do that? You know what I mean? Like, who else? And Kyle Brandt mentioned it. He's about to get to 100 sacks faster than anybody not named Reggie White. in league history. It's incredible. And he should have had it in this game. He was like, he's on his way there. The officiating crew has to know that, be aware of it. I wish there was like replay or something that could help with that. Cause again, that cost the Steelers 7 points and made this game a lot closer than what it needed to be. We're going to talk about defense now too, because I don't think there's anybody else on offense that's worth discussing here. I think we've hammered it home. Cordero Patterson running here. I think that's a product of Warren not being 100%. And he threw some good blocks too. I was okay with that. Yeah.
What's the deal with Daniels wearing that Nerf helmet?
He's one of the guys. He was doing it during the preseason too. And unless they zoom in, you can't even tell that it's the Guardian
cap. It
looked
lumpy. It was weird. I was like, wait, why has he got a Nerf helmet on? That's not healthy.
It's like it came from Temu or something.
It is.
I'm trying to find him here. He wasn't in this shot here with Fields leaning forward. And the Steelers, as a team.
Yeah, no, wait, there he is. There he is. See the crease? The fabric crease underneath whatever that Falcon's arm is next to Justin?
Yeah, a little bit. It looks like one of those inflatable things you could get at like the Home Depot.
Does.
Like I got it. Here we go. For those of you that could see this or watch it on YouTube.
What in the hell is that?
It's so weird, like the way it looks like, you know what it looks like? It looks like somebody had like a hack in the new Madden or something. You've got these great next gen PlayStation 5 graphics, and somebody has a code for Nintendo 64 helmets or something.
I'm sure it's a concussion protection thing.
It is
some kind of experience. Yeah. But I'm like, the trash talkers on the other team are like, hey, hat boy. Hey, what you doing? We got a marshmallow head. Over. They're giving him crap about that because it's ridiculous looking.
Yeah, well, just for to close out the Steelers on offense, and I was mentioning some of the snap counts too with like Pruitt and who else, like Freiermuth. I was trying to get the rest of them here. So 68 plays for the Steelers offense. Pat Freiermuth plays 50 of them. That's the most outside of Fields in the offensive lineman. Van Jefferson plays 49. So he outsnaps both of them outsnap George Pickens, who plays 46. And then Pruitt played 40 plays. Najee Harris, 38. Darnell Washington, 37. Then Calvin Austin, 28. Jalen Warren, surprisingly, 21, even though he only got a couple of touches.
I do have an F that I want to give.
Okay.
Wide receiver blocking. F. Okay. It was terrible.
Well, and you saw a lot of the multiple tight end sets that were out there. I'd say Connor Hayward may have had one of those too, where he just got pushed or blown up. He had one where he made a nice hole and come in right off the A gap, I think. But then there was another one. I think it went to go off the edge, and it wasn't quite. He didn't quite get all of who he was. He didn't get a hat on a hat. So
there was just one play that was just super egregious because two of them got blown up at the same time. And, looked like we had a nice little screen that was going to happen. Had two blockers in front, but they just got their butts handed to them, and it went over.
Patterson blew someone up pretty good on picking up pass protection, which I thought was pretty good. I'm going to be interested in seeing how much of this is a product of just protecting Fields and having like Spencer Anderson and Zach Frazier, new guys on the offensive line. 16 first downs by the Steelers, 9 of those running the football, only 1 by penalty. So they were 8-17, 47%. They were 0 for 1 on fourth down. They only got the fourth down that didn't count as a fourth down, I think.
Yeah.
0 for 2 in the red zone, which is tough. So you can criticize. They had 270 net yards. So it's not like this big masterpiece of, Josh Allen or somebody out there like lighting it, Baker Mayfield lighting it up yesterday. Steelers 137 yards on the ground. They held the Falcons to 89, 133 net pass yards. So that's not really going to get it done, but Fields only threw it 23 times. What else can you ask for? It's if you could win doing that, by all means. They ran it 41 total.
Yeah. I will put it this way. I felt like the offense was just about what I expected it to be, but it was less than I hoped it would be.
Fair enough. Defensively, where I think we have a lot to discuss a lot to give out. Steelers secondary. Now I'll say the Falcons secondary was pretty darn good too. But the Steelers secondary was, I'm going to say, second to none here. Deshaun Elliott, fantastic addition to this team. Dante Jackson looked the part every bit through the way in this game. Beanie Bishop got lost on that TD, whether or not, I don't know if he's playing a zone or a man or whatever, but he had no idea that Pitts was standing behind him in the back corner of the end zone. So, but that's an undrafted rookie that you've got there. Peyton Wilson saves a touchdown with Bijan Robinson. He was all over the field. Patrick Queen, it's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but there's a lot of things that he did where, Mick is able to come up and just fill the one gap from his position and hold them to short yardage. There was all the pressure that was given. You saw some looks with 3 of the outside linebackers on the field with Watt, Highsmith, and Nick Herbig. They did that several times, trying to get Nick Herbig some more reps. The defense looks scary. And then, of course, Cam Hayward him, Montravius Adams, Keanu Benton, Larry Ogunjobi, they were all getting theirs throughout the game. Elliott, as far as his first appearance in a Steelers uniform, I got to say probably an A. And maybe even Jackson to that degree. Fortunately, the Steelers come out of this game, knock on wood. I mean, the major injury, and it's going to be problematic, is to see who replaces Cameron Johnston. But as far as anybody else who left ended up returning. I think Porter got dinged for like a second or so, left for a couple plays and came back in. Corey Trice was out there in his place. And you would expect the Falcons to have taken advantage of it, but they really couldn't. There was hands and Kirk Cousins. There was somebody breathing on Kirk Cousins for most of the second half. So not only the offensive adjustments, but this goes back to Arthur Smith. Time of possession for the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Atlanta Falcons, 35-36 to 24-24, a full 10 minutes more because they kept the ball on the ground, chewed the clock, ran the right type of plays that would get you first downs and keep the clock moving, to play possession football, keep the defense fresh on the sidelines. So when they came back in, they could harass the Falcons offense.
Isn't that a song by like 10 years after or something? In the year 24. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, when you said that time, it made me think of that. Yeah. We haven't done this in a while because I've been doing, over the last year or so, I've been doing pre, and Zach has been doing post.
Yes.
But damn it, Grown Ass Man Awards.
Yes, we may as well. And by the way, Zach, wherever my dude ended up at, he's excited to be back on here, but he's having some trouble with his equipment or whatever to try and get going. So hopefully back on his feet again.
They have little blue pills for that, Zach.
Not that equipment.
Just letting
he's
you know.
Not as old as you.
As an older man, I can speak. There's no shame in the little blue pill. But be that as it may. Grown Ass Man Awards. Montravius Adams. I mean, forget TJ gets a Grown Ass Man Award. There's no question about it, right? Montravius Adams, I thought did a great job. I thought the whole defensive line, in my mind, should just all get Grown Ass Man Awards. I thought Alex had a good game. I thought, as you said, the D-backs. I'm going to give Jackson his own Grown Ass Man Award. I thought he played great.
Yeah.
And he was going to get targeted more than Joey. I was a little scared when Joey went out. I don't know what the injury may or may not have been, but he did go out for a couple plays, and that's when Corey Trice came in. But then he came back. I mean, Drake London had 3 catches?
Yeah, I was about to bring that up, actually. Let's see here. As far as on the Falcons side of things, Kirk Cousins with the 59 quarterback rating, he went 16 of 26. So he completed fewer passes than Justin Fields. Now, you could say some stuff with air yards or whatever, trying to find stuff. 155 yards. It was almost identical. Fields was 17 of 23, 156. Cousins, 16 of 26, 155. He had a touchdown pass, but he had 2 picks. Ray McLeod, the leading wide receiver. I'm not sure that's the way they drew it up. 4 catches for 52 yards. Bijan Robinson.
And one was a gift. One was an absolute gift. There's, ridiculous.
Bijan Robinson, 5 for 43 out of the backfield. Kyle Pitts, 3 for 26. He had the touchdown. So tight ends largely locked down because of the linebackers that you've got in coverage. I mean, Patrick Queen was out there in the prevent defense. Like, I haven't seen that for a while. With the, he might have tried to do that with Devin Bush, and it wasn't the prettiest. But you usually might have another safety dotting the I there in the middle of that prevent instead of just an actual linebacker. Drake London, 2 for 15. Darnell Mooney, 1 for 15. And Warner, the fullback, 1 for 4. So, the ball didn't even get spread around as much as the Steelers offense did. I know a lot of people thought that the Falcons were favored, had the edge. They're a team on the rise, NFC South. Then Mayfield goes out in his game and throws 4 TDs. I know it was on Washington, but just embarrassed the hell out of that team and just said, nope, no Falcons there. And the Steelers did the same thing here. We'll looking forward to maybe Russell Wilson now get it healthy, held out so he could play his revenge game next. But Arthur Smith gets his, at least in his 18-10 win.
Yeah, I am hopeful that I feel comfortable in saying that if Russell can't play, we are not in the position that we may have been, because neither one of these guys is Mitch Trubisky. So that's on the plus side, right? But I would like Russ to be able to play against Denver. That is a location where Steelers Nation doesn't usually get the chance to overtake the stadium, right? Denver's got a pretty rabid fan base, and they don't tend to let us take over their stadium. But they haven't been that good recently, and I don't know how good they were yesterday. They lost, although I think they scored a little bit. I'd like to see the Colorado Steelers Nation base get some tickets and go to the game.
Man, I'll tell you what, it's killing me because I've never been to Denver. I want to go to Denver really bad, but
I've been multiple times. It's an awesome city.
Yeah, I want to be able to take in the city. Like Atlanta was like a quick in and out. I've been to Atlanta many times. Atlanta, man, I'll tell you, what a great experience. There's something with the Southern hospitality that I can't argue. So it was a lot of fun. The fans were. I even told the guy that was next to me. He seemed a little distraught about the game, and he was an older gentleman, Falcons fan. And I was like, I don't typically. I'm not a terrible towel waver. I bring one to every game. It's superstitious, but I don't wave it for every little thing, and especially on the road. I'm not like already. I'm 6'5", Brian. People in front of me, they're like whipping it. People behind me, I get like hit in the eye, in the ear, in the mouth. Like sometimes it's annoying, and that's at home. On the road, I'm not going to do that to anybody. But I was like, at the end of the game, and TJ did that, and I was like, hey, I'm not going to rub it in, but I got a little towel twirl here when they went ahead, when they won. I'm like, I'm going to celebrate, got to take it in a little bit, but not be a jerk, not getting any fights or anything like that. I didn't see anything like anything remotely like that. The strangest thing though was we did see somebody in full Browns gear, like head to toe, walking around the concourse. It was just like, that guy is really confused. He's in the wrong spot. Like,
that's odd. Now I'm going to bring this up simply because I will tomorrow night. I leave for Scotland for, I don't know, 12 days or something. So next Sunday, I will be on a 19-mile hike while the game is going on, and we'll have no idea what the hell is happening until I get to my final respite, or until I die, whichever happens. So I am curious what you think of this for next week, right? What are your expectations for that game?
As far as, a win, Bo Nix, I don't think it gets cleaned up with 3 days of practice. He threw one ball against Seattle, like in a triple coverage, very ill-advised throw. I see a lot of the same things with the speed of this game is going to be, that was Seattle, and it's Mike McDonald. Not that Seattle's defense is bad, but I think the Steelers' defense is going to be borderline elite and special this season. And I'm particularly influenced by seeing what Dante Jackson, Deshaun Elliott already did. Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson, that's going to come together. I think they're going to be a pretty fair tandem on the field. So I do think that they're going to force a number of turnovers. And if this is Russell Wilson healthy, they're not going to dial up like all of these runs and stuff. But I've mentioned this in the pregame. I said the difference is that Fields is trying to read the field and find, trying to diagnose. And Russell has been around longer. He's done this for many years at a high level. He's going to be able to just boom, decision maker, and he looks to extend plays. I don't know that Denver defensively as anyone's going to bring enough heat or cause enough problems. This is a team that, let's face it, they're in a rebuild mode. So I think when you combine that with the rookie quarterback, some potential 3-and-outs, they're going to get gassed. I think we're going to see some touchdowns from the Steelers offense. I think Russ can make the big play throws. And even if he doesn't, and they go back to Fields, my expectations could be about the same with the Falcons. They trusted Fields enough as he settled in to make some of those throws. They'll entrust him a little more next with the next game, and there might be a little bit more in there. You may see some of the middle of the field. You may see him take a risk. You may even see him turn the ball over, but I don't think it'll be enough that unless the Steelers were like penalized 13 times and just completely shoot themselves in the foot and forget what they were doing, that Denver should be that much of a hurdle to get over.
Yeah, the second part of what I'm curious about is they said this multiple times on the telecast for the Falcons game that the Falcons offensive line was supposed to be this awesome offensive line, and I'm not sure that they looked like it. And I'm trying to gauge is Atlanta's offensive line not as good as expected, or are we just that damn good, right? And there probably is a combination of both, but what do you know about the Broncos offensive line?
Well, I would say Denver actually pretty decent offensive line. I think we mentioned in the pregame they're very good at run blocking. Their right guard I think got hurt. I can't remember if he left and didn't come back at one point. Maybe he was playing a little dinged. So, but when you got to contend with TJ Watt, I mean,
well, yeah,
nothing else that the Falcons did play calling wise. Like when the biggest thing I think that Denver will look at. I don't think Javonte Williams is going to be the guy to do this. I think it'll be Jaleel McLaughlin from my home alma mater, Youngstown State, undrafted running back that's going to hit the corners. But Jaleel also had a little bit of difficulty protecting the football too. So, as long as the Steelers could tighten that up and not allow those those halfback toss or sweeps and stretch the defense a little bit, which also tries to keep some of the edge rushers from breathing on the quarterback. I think it's going to be a long day for Bo Nix, and I don't know that Denver will have the luxury of running the football. If the Steelers get up 2 scores, they're going to have to start throwing it and playing from behind. I think it's a pretty good game script where the Steelers Arthur Smith can play call and just choose some more of the clock. I think they can play a lot of the same type of possession football, regardless of who the quarterback is going to be in this game. And if they have to keep it tight and a small score, they could do so. I feel confident enough. They'd have to really, and again, Brian, we've seen it happen week to week, early in September. They could completely crap the bed and be awful in all 3 phases of football. I think the most alarming thing right now for me, the pit in my stomach, is the injury to Cameron Johnston, because that guy was a weapon. He could definitely flip the field. I don't know if they're going to find somebody on the that's out there still as a free agent that's got the same type of capabilities. They might get lucky. Maybe somebody that's just like a diamond in the rough, like they found Chris Boswell. But this is the guy that they paid that was going to be a Pro Bowl, all-pro level punter. I know, shaking heads too, because Presley Harvin or somebody's out there, like a Brad Wing.
Coming back. I'm just telling you,
it's somebody that can hold
Harvin.
Yeah,
because they know how to hold for Boswell. That's what it's going to be. It's either going to be the big fat punter or it's going to be Brad Wing.
And you texted me back, the big fat punter might be fatter.
He might be. He's not on anybody's roster. He might be sitting at home eating Choco Nuts or something. I blew my job. Now he's 400 pounds. But that's okay. Either way, I don't care. They got to get a punter. I agree. And they will, obviously, this week. So where I'm leading to with all of this is, unfortunately, the Ravens play the Raiders next week.
Mm-hmm.
But you can pretty much assume the Bengals are likely to lose to the Chiefs. And there is as much a chance that the Browns lose in Jacksonville as there is that they win in Jacksonville. Jacksonville is a better team now than they have been in years past. They almost managed to beat the Dolphins in Miami. They blew it.
They should have. They blew it. They completely blew it. Like,
yeah.
There's some bad play calling if you want to see any.
Yeah, but they could beat the Browns next week. And so, I was sitting there thinking, is there a way we're 2 games up in the division at the end of week 2? Probably not. I think we'll be 1 because I just don't see the Raiders beating the Ravens in Baltimore, but I do think the other 2 are going to be 0-2.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders were not good. Not good. We've talked about it with Minshew and stuff. And yeah, just speaking of not good, Deshaun Watson. I mean, the Browns, I talked about, losing the elder. I always get it confused now. Brian Callahan, the dad of the Callahans, out he's with the Titans with his son, who's the head coach. I said it's going to be the biggest loss. Probably that and McDonald leaving the Ravens and their defense. Like, that'll be the biggest one. We've seen the Ravens. Harbaugh has been around as long as Tomlin. We've seen them like kind of weather the storm with that. I don't know that guys like Zach Taylor, Kevin Stefanski know how to weather the storm. There was also some questionable play calling, going for it on 4th downs and stuff that Cleveland did. They were playing with fire with the Cowboys, and it was like that was a mistake because once Dak figured that out. I mean, speaking of which, something else that happened, Dak making like, $60 million per year? And all the Browns fans are rejoicing. They're finally like, look, see, Deshaun Watson's not even a top 10 paid quarterback anymore. I'm like, yeah, whatever makes you sleep at night.
This is what I'll say to Browns fans. All these other quarterbacks making that money, it's your damn fault.
Absolutely. Just like it's Christian Kirk and the Jacksonville Jaguars'
fault
for the wide receivers. Yes, you set the tone and everybody else said, where's my money? And it has to reset itself somehow. With quarterbacks, it probably never will. But I mean, choose. I mean, the Ben Roethlisberger, $40 million we thought was a big cap hit like 4 years ago. That's what I was trying to spit out, like 4 for that. That's like a drop in the bucket now. So it's just, oh man. And how about the other one, Brian, was 49ers gave Brandon Ayuk an ultimatum. I think it was Tom Pelissero that reported this. And it was like, either take this deal or we're trading you. And he took the deal over coming to Pittsburgh. So screw you, Brandon Ayuk. But no, he was coming. Mad. He was that close.
Thank you. Thank you, Brandon Ayuk, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, true.
We're not paying that damn money. And if we were, I don't want to.
I wonder what the trade compensation was then if that deal was in place. I think it was a 2nd round pick. I wasn't willing to part with that. Maybe a 3rd rounder, because then you could always get like a comp pick or something. Not that the Steelers got that going with unsigned free agents, right? They're not in a position now where they've had a talented enough roster where they lose free agents and get comp picks and stuff like that. But, 3rd round pick could be had, something like that. But I digress, Brian. We're up against it. You have safe travels, my friend. Maybe we'll be back for the pregame. And then Flash, hopefully, will be back around and we'll be able to talk. But we
won't be back for the pregame.
No, back for the pregame. I might be.
I leave at 9:30 tomorrow night. So.
Oh, geez. Well, hey, definitely safe travel. I didn't realize that you were heading out there that early. So safe travels, dude. Definitely. Get some rest. Different.
I need to. It's 14.5 miles a day plus a 19-mile day thrown in. 96 miles over 7 days.
What's wrong with you? Ain't no way, man. Ain't no way. I don't want anything to do with that. Well, we wish the best to Cameron Johnston. Hopefully this isn't. We've seen some of this type of stuff in careers. I'm gonna knock on wood and say it's not it. Hopefully a healthy recovery. Happened early enough in the season that he could be back for next year if it does end up indeed being season ending. That's what the reports are that were leaking, and it looked nasty.
Yeah, it did. It looked nasty. But I'm just glad he has comedy to fall back on.
Oh, geez, because you say he's like Bill Burr. But and to finish that off too, it was just kind of surprising. Like, I was on the other side of the stadium, and you see Johnston go down, and you're like, oh, a flag. All right, Steelers get the first down. They get to carry on, and then it was no. And when I saw the replay, it was like, man, the guy is still diving to try and make a play at the ball. But at the same time, Miles Killebrew has got a handful of jersey and stuff too. I don't know what the hell you do there. And if I'm Miles Killebrew, maybe he just got momentum and overpowered through it. And Yeah, and just hold the dude. Take the flag. Live the fight another day. Keep your damn punter healthy. It's like protecting your quarterback sometimes. Just don't let the guy through. Screw it. Or not giving up a score when you're a corner. You just held the guy, didn't give up a touchdown, because maybe your defense can then at least just only give up a field goal, even if it's a spot foul. But the one that felt about as dumb as anything, and I feel is imbalanced now after being at the game and everything. There was like a situation the Steelers had, what was it, like a 3rd and 20 something? It was the 3rd and long because their Falcons had been penalized. They'd lost yards on a play. And then there was like a hands to the face defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down. Wait a second. No. This team could literally run like multiple negative plays, get penalized, be in like a 3rd and 40, and then get an automatic first down, like from hands to face, defensive hands to face. Because the offensive hands to face, I forgot what that penalty was. Maybe that was 10 yards or whatever, but that happened on that same series. And I'm just like, I got to go back and look at that. I might not be remembering it 100% of the way, but I was like, man, that just doesn't seem balanced. Not that the NFL wants that. They want high scoring games and people to
you commit a penalty, I don't, to be honest with you, there's certain penalties that they give that automatic first down on that I'm like, you should not be giving an automatic first down on that penalty. Like hands to the face defense, I don't think that should be an automatic first down. I know why it is. Yeah. I know why defensive holding is an automatic first down, because they don't want them to do it, right? And so they over penalize it. But then make it 15 yards. Then it is an automatic first down. Screw it.
Face mask, I think, carries more weight when you're yanking on the face mask and the helmet or whatever, as opposed to just the face mask. And I wanted to bring up the Broderick Jones on sportsmanlike conduct with Grady Jarrett too. It just seemed like a whole nothing burger there. And you have guys that get in a fight, and all of a sudden it's offsetting penalties, even though one was clearly more of an instigator. That just it's just unsettling. You had a lot of that type of stuff throughout this game. Some of the penalties you're going to get is just because it's early. It's like preseason football, but hey, we could at least, I think we're happy with the result, not only being a win, but
you think,
but I'm saying
it's a win.
But I'm saying when we were here, let me finish my statement. When we were in this same position last year and they got absolutely throttled at home by the San Francisco 49ers, you didn't have a single positive feeling or anything you felt they could have built upon for the rest of the season. It was just doom and gloom, and it's all over. And Atlanta fans were leaving there, and they're just like, man, we signed Kirk Cousins for how much money? And it's like, well, at least you have a backup plan. And it's like with Michael Penix, maybe, but like at least feel like safe in your feels there. But yeah, I know you take one game, you take them each as they go. But again, you would like to have seen them get a little more offensively, but it's building blocks. And I think it's more of what you're going to see throughout the season. Run the football. And, I think on Atlanta, I think Atlanta has some positives. They'll get there. I think they'll get there. Just that first game and not having Cousins play the whole preseason. You could have very easily saw that with Russ too. You might. So Fields had more playing time, still looked jittery, but overall, not having Malo, there was a lot of things to be concerned about. Fields starting, I'll take it. They did what they needed to do to win. And that should go to the coaching staff and also the Fields. Fields get a game ball. And of course, Sean Sweezum, goated as he should be. So
Sean Sweezum.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did I say Sean Sweezum? Man, Chris Boswell. Well, Sweezum's a goat too, but not quite the same.
You need some rest. You need to sleep.
I do.
Here's the thing. It's an ugly win, but it's a win. There's been maybe once, maybe twice where after an ugly win, you almost went, I just didn't even want to win that game. It happened once last year. I remember coming on in a post game and going, I feel like we shouldn't have won that game. I'm not even happy we won because it was that ugly, but this was not that. So yeah, I'm glad they won.
There's been plenty of tight games won off of Chris Boswell's foot.
What in the hell was that picture?
That was Boswell.
What?
I believe this is Scotty Miller.
Is that the guy who did the pole vault? What the hell?
Well, that was Boswell with I believe Scotty Miller holding at the very end.
Oh, there you go. There's another more evidence that Boswell is in fact the GOAT.
25-yard field goal. You would have liked to see him get in the end zone, but hey, we'll take what we can get. We've seen him win with just field goals and defense, and hopefully, even this pattern should be somewhat sustainable through these first few games that they've got. So, and then go from there. Anyways, folks, we're up against it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Brian, thank you, my friend, and safe travels. Are you sitting over there like giggling about? The reason I had Sean Sweesham on my brain, by the way, was because
that's not what I'm giggling about.
I know, but the reason he was on my brain is because he had the knee injury that ended his career. And I'm just sitting over here hoping, hoping for the best for Johnston. So, what's up?
Nothing. I can't stop laughing at myself in my pole vault joke that apparently you didn't even know that I made.
You're fine there, dude. I need some rest too. I'm tired, folks. That'll do it for us. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. Again, leave a rating or review wherever you may be watching or listening. Till next time, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.